Good afternoon. Welcome to the Glens Falls Board of Public Safety meeting. It's 4 o'clock, Wednesday, July 12th, 2023. I want to begin today by welcoming our newest member of the Glens Falls Board of Public Safety, Scarlett DeWitt. Scarlett, say hello. Please, would everybody, Bob, can you start and introduce yourself?
I'm Bob Stedman.
Mike Seidel.
Billy Prime.
John Jenkins.
And Emily Neal.
And Emily's our deputy clerk. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. She's all sworn in and ready to go. We are now fully served. And Tambry Alden is on the committee as well, but she's out today, I believe out of town. So, all right, welcome. Let's see, so let's call this meeting to order. Number one is a resolution to approve the minutes of the June 14th, 2023 meeting of the Glens Falls Board of Public Safety.
Also move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved, thank you very much. Resolution 2 is a resolution to approve the 50th Annual Adirondack Balloon Festival City event to be held September 21st, 2023 at the Crandall Park between 4 o'clock until 10 p.m. The event will be held as in previous years with vendors, entertainment, and balloon flights, weather permitting. Plans also include a beer tent this year, live entertainment, a balloon glow or moon glow, what they call, a VIP barbecue for the balloonists and their staff, and certificate of occupancy will be forthcoming in August as the festival's changed insurance providers this year and are awaiting their New York State DOH EMS gathering permit. So if you would so move, we have a motion to approve based on receiving that certificate of insurance.
So moved.
So moved. Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. 3 is a resolution to approve the Country Western Music Concert sponsored by Bob Bruno and hosted by the City of Glens Falls to be held July 16, 2023 in City Park at the Bandstand from 2 to 4:30 p.m. There'll be no other city resources required as this event will be contained to the park. And the city is, as a hosted event, the city insurance will be utilized. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. 4 is a resolution to approve the block party on Stevens Street on August 5th, 2023 from 1 p.m. to no later than 10 p.m. with the understanding that a lane must be kept open for emergency services. The DPW will drop off barricades on Friday before the block party to be erected by the event holder, then retrieve them Monday after the event. Estimated attendance is up to 30 people. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. 5 is a resolution to approve the Upstate New York Autism Alliance, an annual autism walk and fun day to be held at Crandall Park on Sunday, September 17th, 2023 from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. There'll be a 1-mile walk in the park and assorted activities throughout the day. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. 6 is a resolution to approve the annual Lincoln Avenue Block Party on Saturday, August 26, 2003, with a rain date of Sunday, August 27th, from 2 p.m. to no later than 10 p.m., with the understanding that the lane must be kept open for emergency services. DPW will drop off the barricades on Friday before the block party to be erected by the event holder, then retrieve them on Monday after the event. Estimated attendance is between 50 and 70 people. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Under new business, we have a discussion to review the traffic congestion and safety on Park and Elm Streets, bounded by Glen Street and Hudson Avenue. I know the council received the email with concern. It was forwarded to us by Mr. Levac and Mrs. I apologize, Miller. Thank you very much. And I see Mr. Levac here. Would you like to come and talk to the Board of Public Safety about the area?
Sure.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
sir.
Thank you.
Just enough.
Where would you like me to stand?
Over next to me, unfortunately, you get to be on camera, right?
Oh, joy.
Yes, that's right.
So Elizabeth and I, Mrs. Miller and I have had some concerns about the neighborhood. Traffic flow coming off of Park Street, pedestrians are more prevalent in the area due to the new apartments. It's a very heavily traveled pedestrian corner, and vehicles do make it a cut through to avoid the circle at certain times of the day. When the circle's backed up, they cut through Park Street and try to skirt the circle. We think that there should be some consideration given to crosswalks. And I think for multiple reasons. The Park Theater is busy now. The Park and Elm Restaurant, the cafe and grocery store. So we're seeing more and more pedestrians in the area. 23 years ago, when I bought the corner of Park and Elm, we set out to change the neighborhood. And we, in a 3-year window, tore down 7 buildings, totaling 40,000 square feet of junk. And there were some warehouses there that Sawyer's had. There was an old Rite Aid. There was a funeral home. There was a Post and Beam electric motor company. And so it's definitely a neighborhood in transition. And now it's becoming, I think, a neighborhood in fruition. So the need to accommodate the pedestrian is becoming more and more clear. And thank this board, appreciate your resolutions that eliminated parking on Elm Street. The bus station was a real problem, still is. They're still standing and parking there to let passengers out. But because this board saw fit to put up no standing, no parking signs, it's been greatly improved. That was a super nice improvement to the neighborhood. You have the parking garage right there. The parking garage at, let out does see a lot of traffic, and I witnessed cars peeling out of the parking lot, taking a sharp left while people are not stopping on Park Street. So, we witness these things, and I really don't think there's a lot of accidents that have been recorded there. Not a lot that I know of, but what I witness is it is an accident, I think, waiting to happen. And would request that this board consider crosswalks at this intersection.
Yeah, literally accident happened, right? So I don't see Chief Smith here. Oh, sorry. And I just saw Mrs. Miller. I'm sorry. I didn't. Were you standing there the whole time? Oh, I'm so sorry because I'm sorry. Chief, how many accidents have we had at this intersection?
There's been 4 since 2015.
So 4 in 8 years. But
None of them were pedestrians.
any of them in the time since, say, that, because we've been working on, the Park and Elm restaurant is newly open, but not newly under construction. And so there's been a lot of traffic, so.
The last accident there was in 2022.
Okay, so there was one during that time, and, okay. And, Mark, is this street down here, is that a street, or is that
That's
just a
private
park?
property.
Okay.
Yep, that's
So
owned
the-
by Ed Moore. It's a travel corridor that goes to Sawyer's.
Great.
Originally, when we set out to change this neighborhood, we were envisioning a neighborhood where people would come to shop and dine and live eventually. We did some stamped architectural concrete on the corner of Park and Elm in front of my parking lot. The vision was to make all 4 corners architecturally pleasing, putting banners at the entrances to this neighborhood. And more recently, a few of the property owners in the neighborhood have picked up a conversation on making a mini park here on the corner with a little 4-sided ornamental clock tower just a place for people to, you know, sit on a bench and enjoy the neighborhood if they've just got a sandwich at the Park and Elm. Just more little accents that we could do to dress up the neighborhood. And this is why I feel at this time, making a four-way stop and pedestrian crosswalks is probably more timely than ever to consider this. So we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. Levack, this starts off with crosswalks, and then you brought up four-way stops. I would assume the four-way stops are what you're really concerned about, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's cut-through traffic in the neighborhood. At present, the street is not striped. Is that correct, Elizabeth? There are no designated parking spaces on the street. And so I think people
So
are
the stripes are what you put in, what you're hoping for.
Well, I think that would be a first step.
Yeah.
The second step would be to have crosswalks.
Right,
But-
I just meant, it's not from an oversight, because this is an over photo.
Right.
You added it. that's all.
Right, correct. Yeah, these crosswalks don't exist.
Gotcha.
Nor does striped parking. And when a car is parked too close to the corner, you can't see around the corner. The car that's coming around the corner heading west on Park Street, looking to make the turn on Elm Street. So the very corner needs to be striped and designated a no parking zone so that it pushes the car back and improves the line of sight from the car coming off of Park Street, taking that right onto Elm Street.
So you would want a designated no parking area on the north side of Park Street at that intersection, is that
Yeah, it
correct?
doesn't have to be much. It just has to push the car back a little bit so the lines of sight are improved. Because if somebody's on the sidewalk ready to cross over towards the hospital and the car is coming around the corner, the driver of the car can't see the person making the cross at that intersection until they're right on top of them. But if it's set back a half a car length or a full car length, they can see, and it makes it a safer intersection.
If I'm not,
So,
I believe that, and I asked Chief Smith to verify this, if we put a no parking sign there, it has to be 20 foot from the corner, is that Chief?
That's correct.
It has to be, that way there'd be 20 foot of clear sight.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think,
That's
And
more,
a
that's
normal
about two,
parking
that's about
spot
two
would
car
be
lengths.
20 feet back from it anyway, so you'd get that automatically, is that what you're saying?
you're talking on Elm,
yeah.
On Park.
on Park.
Yeah, if
So-
we put it in.
If I understand this, what you're saying is, this is quite an affair here. You want all crosswalks and you want all stop signs.
Yes.
So we ought to go take a look at this, somebody,
Absolutely.
to tell us what it looks like with you present down there and what we'd like to do. With the chief, might provide somebody, or the city must have somebody to go there and say, this is what we can do here.
Absolutely, we could look at it.
This overview, I understand,
Right.
and I understand the stop signs. I'm not opposed to it, but,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
in the
sitting
end-
here, even if we approve this, we don't know how this is gonna work out
Yeah.
until you actually get there, so that's what I'd say.
And you also need to consider the uniform traffic code that says for multi-way stops, the decision to install it should be based on an engineering study. The following criteria should be used by the engineering study in a multi-stop installation where traffic control signals are justified, so that's not in this case. Is a multi-way stop is an interim measure that can be installed quickly to control traffic arrangements while traffic lights are being considered. 5 or more reported crashes in a 12-month period are susceptible to correction in a multi-way stop installation. You don't meet that designation or criteria. Such crashes include right turn, left turn collisions. Then it says minimum volumes. The vehicle volume entering the intersection from major street approaches. A total of both approaches must be at least 300 vehicles per hour for any 8 hours of an average day. Combined vehicle, pedestrian, bicycle volume entering an intersection and minor street approaches averages at least 200 units per hour in the same 8 hours. Aaron, can you tell us how much would it cost to get an engineering study done of an intersection, something like this?
I can't, but I can tell you that we plan on being in the neighborhood shortly, as you are aware, with the pedestrian studies that the city had requested for us to conduct for
Right.
the two Hudson Avenue locations.
Okay,
If there's interest from this committee and we can wait a couple of months, we could consider adding this third location into the scope of that study at a presumably reduced overall cost before we even put that out on the street.
that's great. So, so I have a motion to table this temporarily while we can do a study of the intersection. Don't need a motion, we just, it's an open discussion,
yeah.
right?
So we have to approve it.
Well, unless you're gonna make a decision, we'll take a motion.
Right.
If you're not gonna make a decision on it, then we don't have to.
We
don't have-
Yeah,
No.
okay. But we would want to make a motion to ask Aaron to give us a price, motion to increase the current work.
If you'd like to expand the scope of the study and you need that documentation at this level.
I don't think we're ever going to get luckier to have a study being done right in the neighborhood that we can get it done. Because other than that, we're talking about putting this out to bid for an entire intersection. And according to the traffic, like we can't just, no matter what we decide by going and looking at this, we don't have the authority to put a four-way stop here. You certainly could look at putting some crosswalks in, but you, according to the uniform traffic code, somebody could contest it if you did put it in without the study.
The crosswalks are the,
Both,
Stop sign.
the four-way stop
Yeah.
signs. You can't put stop signs in a thing, you can't do it to necessarily slow traffic or to make it safer.
Mhm.
You have to do it based on whether you had too many accidents in that area
Sure.
or a study telling you that it was needed, right? And I only know that because of this has come up before, like we have people who say, hey, this one intersection is a nightmare. We always get hit and we're not allowed to, even if it makes sense to us, to go ahead and add traffic for that, right? There's
one other thing that, in that, what is this?
Uniform traffic.
Uniform traffic thing, it says, once the decision has been made to control an intersection, the decision regarding the appropriate roadway to control should be based on an engineering judgment.
So would it be possible for us to, out of consideration for requests from constituents, Mrs. Miller and Mr. Levesque, would it be possible for us to go out and paint some crosswalks for now, so we do something?
to slow some stuff
I'm
down.
in favor of that, because I'm the impatient one.
Sure.
Well, I think that it's a good idea, makes sense, because if there is, Mr. Black saying, the increased pedestrian crossings to and from the restaurant, wherever, hospital, bus terminal, and more pedestrian traffic. Once a pedestrian steps into the crosswalk, the vehicles have to stop.
We hope.
Well, they should, I'm not saying they should. They're supposed to stop.
So, can I do us a favor? Not pass I'd like to pass a motion to ask AGFTC to increase the scope of their study that they're doing in the area, and that we will, and they can let us know how much that costs, and we will make a motion to approve. So if we do that that's one resolution. Another, I'd like you to pause, not pass a resolution to put in, until you look and make sure, until I look or the chief looks, that knows that we can put, I don't know that we're not regulated to, I don't know that we can put in a crosswalk in that area to slow down traffic any more than you can put in a stop sign to do it. I don't know. So I don't want to pass a resolution that compels the DPW, wow, to do that. How about this? we can pass a resolution that if it is within the municipal traffic code by Chief Smith's estimation, that we could ask the DPW to go ahead and put it on the workload and get it done. Is that fair enough? If it's allowable within the traffic control code?
I like it.
Is that okay?
I like it.
So we're looking at 2 resolutions. Can you help me word this one better?
Well, just backpedaling a little bit.
Sure.
I'm not sure that you would want to get out in front of the engineering analysis with pavement markings unless they were something that could be theoretically undone or weren't terribly permanent or didn't
Right.
resolve a whole lot of it.
Gotcha.
You know, we can get after this probably sometime around October for a start date. If we were to fast track it, maybe we can get out a little bit more in front of that. Backpedaling a little bit further, speaking to the issue of cost, if my committee approves the expanded scope, which is basically a small modification to an already approved annual work program, the cost to the city will be no dollars in cash.
Wow.
We will handle that. We would rely upon local contribution from city staff
Gotcha.
for the match.
Okay.
Just
So-
information to the board.
So can we have a resolution? Do we have a motion to ask AGFTC to expand their scope of work to study, include this corner in a study to do a report so that we can see the need in consideration of both crosswalks and stop signs? Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. How about this? A motion to have my DPW and the police chief look at this intersection and add even some temporary calming devices. We have it on our agenda to buy, we have it on, I've got it on ARPA money to buy some traffic for DPW, to buy some traffic calming devices. And we can look at this and maybe even put some temporary crosswalks in. But let me explore it. So a motion to explore this work and try to get something done sooner than October.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Enjoy your night.
Yeah, thanks.
Next is AGFTC doing a presentation of bicycle proposal regarding bicycle connection lanes on Maple Street. And so we've got a presentation up here on the TV for you to look at. Please.
Peter, my friend. Where am I?
Is he in the frame?
The camera.
Are you now?
Yes, no? That's a drag. All right, just a little background on this. The city administration asked AGFTC for some help in providing some technical assistance to DPW to consider improvement of bicycle space delineation along Maple Street between Ridge and McDonald as part of a regularly scheduled paving project. So as I understand it, the city's plan was to go forth and do a resurfacing project for this roadway, and they chose to take the opportunity to request professional engineering services to provide some recommendations on how they might be able to make that project better for the purposes of identifying bicycle routing and bicycle space delineation. This was part of what I had just mentioned of our regular annual work program for the city's request. We in turn hired Creighton Manning to conduct an analysis for us and to provide recommendations to the city. Merich and Mark are here from Creighton Manning. I believe Merich is going to conduct the presentation, so take it away.
Hi, I'm Merich. I'm a project engineer at Creighton Manning Engineering, and I'm here to talk about our findings and recommendations for future bike improvements along Maple Street. So our study area consisted of half-mile section of Maple Street from Ridge Street on the, I can actually make this larger. There we go. So half-mile section of Maple Street from Ridge Street on the west side to McDonald Street on the east end of the corridor. This is a low volume, low speed roadway, and it is within city's commercial districts, according to the City of Glens Falls zoning map. There are various local businesses throughout Maple Street, but mostly focusing on east side. They are mostly in the east side, while there are some single and multi-family housing on the mostly on the west side of the roadway. So this is more both a commercial and a residential roadway.
Let me halt you for just 1 second. So know that we've been looking at how to safely make Glens Falls more bikeable, more walkable. So we knew we were paving this area. We thought it was worth looking at and doing it right. It wasn't as simple as my idea of, hey, let's put a bike lane down there, right? Because that's how these conversations start, right, with my community development team. We know that Warren Street is high traffic, right? It's when all those trucks coming in and down Warren. We also liked Maple and the idea that we're trying to get bikes down to, get to the bike path. If we come here, now they can get to the county bike path and head either north or south. But so that's the object and why this street may look, if you're just looking at this one thing, why, if you're all of the city, why did we ask them to look at that? That's why. We knew we were paving it and it was worth looking at and doing it right to connect downtown, potentially like a parent or families might get off of that bike path and be able to get up and get into our downtown from this way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That actually is a great segue for our objectives. So our objectives for this study was to find ways to improve existing bicycle infrastructure within the city of Glens Falls and to provide safe and accessible connections to attractions and bikeways nearby, including Feeder Canal Trail, Warren County Bikeway, City Park, Farmers Market, and local businesses along Maple Street, and also businesses that are connected via Maple Street as well. Here is AJTC's regional bicycle map, and in the red box we have a close-up view of our project area. You can see that red line and blue line indicates Warren County Bikeway. The difference in color is just indication of on-street and off-street portions of the bikeway, and it's all paved. And then the green line shows Feeder Canal Trail, which is an off-street, unpaved bikeway. So Maple Street falls within that network gap, and we think that it's an important link to connect the two major bikeways.
So it's wide enough, right, for,
Which I will get into in the next slides. Some photos of the existing conditions along Maple Street. This is facing eastbound direction and the west end of the project limits between Ridge Street and Church Street in front of the Baptist Church. There is parking on one side, which is a time restricted parking, only 15 minutes. And then no parking on the south side, which is on the right side of this image. And like I mentioned, it's a low volume street, so in this photo too, that there were no vehicles captured in this photo. Moving further east, this is intersection of Pearl Street. You can see that we're still in the west side of the corridor. There are multi-family housing. It's more residential here compared to the further east in the corridor. This is the intersection of Cooper Street. Again, it's getting more commercial as we go east. Still low volume. There is no cars, almost no cars. There's one on the left. And then last photo, closer to almost at the end of our limits on the east side. Again, more commercial. Parking is utilized on the south side, which is the right side of the this image. Like I said, it's more commercial. So the existing cross section of Maple Street, there is a minimum of 20 feet width throughout the corridor, but between Ridge Street and Culver Street, which is again that west portion of our corridor, it's a constant 28 feet wide, with only north side parking is allowed and not the south side. These cross sections are also looking eastbound direction as well. And then from Culver Street to McDonald Street, the roadway width varies between 28 feet to 34 feet, but I would say majority of the time it's 28 feet to 30 feet. And then parking is allowed on both sides of the street here. So as part of the study, we looked into various bicycle accommodations. And for this roadway type, volume and speed, and of course the available width out there, we looked into further into detail with two alternatives. One of them is conventional bike lanes. So with our minimum 28 feet roadway width, we were able to fit in narrow bike lanes on both sides and narrow travel lanes. So this is the narrowest we can go with for both bike lanes and travel lanes. And with this alternative, we would have to eliminate parking on both sides of the street. This is, like I said, it's a half-mile stretch of roadway, and with narrow lanes, it might be a little uncomfortable for both drivers and bicyclists to travel along that long of a stretch. Like I said, there is quite a bit of parking impacts here. And then the second alternative that we looked into is the use of shared lanes with shared pavement markings and signage. With this alternative, we would only need to eliminate parking on one side of the street. Again, going down to 10-foot lanes and 8-foot parking lane on the south side. This alternative would help to alert drivers of the presence of the bicyclists and establish this as a bicycle route as well. So the trade-offs for each option, conventional bike lanes, like I mentioned, we would need to remove parking on both sides. This comes to approximately 150 parking spots, and we would need to use the full width of the roadway in order to fit in narrow bike lanes and travel lanes. And like I said, narrow bike lanes could be uncomfortable for bicyclists to travel because they're restricted by the curb on one side and moving traffic on the other side. And then shared lanes, we would only need to remove parking on one side, which would come to 55 to 60 parking spaces, depending on which side we remove parking. This would be helpful, again, to alert drivers of the presence of the bicyclists and be more comfortable for bicyclists. And both of these concepts are consistent with our industry guidance. Again, the volume and speed considered, and the type of the roadway, which is a neighborhood street. So it works well, both of these options with this. To conclude, we think that shared lanes are the best suited for this type of roadway with the existing width that is available. Pavement markings and signage would help with the clarity and designation of this route as a bicycle route. This will be an improvement over the current bicycling environment, which there is no signage or markings currently to indicate that this roadway is used by bikers. And then it would help fill in the gap between the two major bikeways, as I mentioned before. This is an easy to maintain, sustainable year-round bike accommodation, and with the less elimination of parking, it will be also more friendly for businesses and residents using this roadway. So we think that it's a significant improvement to the existing conditions out there, both for the city and bikers using this roadway.
Very good, very good, thank you.
So it's not as easy as I thought, just throw in bike lane. I would just add bike lanes onto the street, right? So we wanted you to know that that is an option, and that's what your study really does show. They would be, if you wanted to, if you decided that to go with bike lanes on either side, it makes them very narrow. It could be actually some ways more dangerous. You have streets coming on both sides of that half miles, right? And so it's not like it's a clear bike lane path, safe.
Especially when you turn from Ridge to Maple.
Yeah.
You've got buses turning, you've got the St. Mary's, cars coming down there. You've got a lot of activity with the church on the other side, with the businesses. That stretch between Ridge and Church Street, okay, can be very busy. I mean, I like the shared idea much better. Because if you're gonna mark it right at the beginning of Maple, okay, I guess that's what you wanna do.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, there's a lot of traffic there.
You'd have to, but even you mark the big area, you still have to have additional signage going down Maple anyways, just to remind people that there's a bike lane too, not just a.
That's correct. Yep.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
I was just wondering if you guys looked into how the elimination of parking in that area would impact the shirt factory, specifically with their Thursday night food truck event. There's a lot of parking, it's very hard to come by, it's incredibly congested. So just wondering if you kind of looked into how that might be impacted.
We think the shared lanes would be like called the medium between the two alternatives, because we're not eliminating all parking throughout the corridor, so it is still retaining some of the parking on the south side. Therefore, I believe this is the least aggressive option to accommodate bicycles along this road.
There were several alternatives that weren't discussed here that were eliminated just out of hand simply because you don't have the available right of way to be able to implement those types of solutions. Again, the maintenance of these shared lanes in conjunction with the parking on one side is again the most business-friendly alternative when combined with the desire, and this is not a recommendation from the Transportation Council to the city saying you should do this on Maple Street. Rather, it's in reverse. It's the city asking us, what can we do with Maple Street while we have this opportunity? So this really struck us as the best compromise between making a meaningful accommodation to delineate and identify bicycle grooming and space as well as preserving parking. No, we did not look at any tangible business-related impacts to what might happen if this space was eliminated at that location. We didn't get into that level of detail.
Just like they didn't look at, say, Sully's East, which is just one more block down. The fact is that being trying to be a complete streets community that values and recognizes the needs and want to make our community a more walkable, bikeable city, there's always going to be a give and take. And one of the options we could do is do nothing. And that would allow the businesses that are there to not make any accommodations. And basically, we would continue the past practice that all cities, or most cities, have had, which is ignore the bicyclists, right? And that's what we're doing now. So if you are on a bike downtown, you want to get down Maple Street, you just head down. You hope that it's not a Thursday night, and you hope that it's not a Friday night because of Sully's East or many of these other places that temporarily park there. We have right now laws in the city of Glens Falls that say no parking more than 2 hours on our neighborhood streets. And we do that because we want homes that have driveways to park in their driveway and to not park in their street. And we know that there's some, close to a dozen wars between neighbors who are angry because my neighbor consistently parks in front of his house on the street and I can't back out. And so we have that law there, and we don't actively pursue ticketing people on a regular basis. We have it there to make it so that people park in their driveways and so reduce the amount of on-street parking. And then we address it when it becomes a problem among neighbors. And again, though, it's kind of that same thing. We don't have that kind of thing about bikes, right? Right now, this isn't isn't labeled at all. So it's a great question, and what they're suggesting is a medium in between. When we did talk, if we chose, we said no, that 2-lane bike thing. And not only is what Bob's point about that being really busy in that first block and a half, but secondly, it would be at the cost of 150 parking spots. So then we'd be saying bicyclists are more important than any of the businesses. And I don't think we want to say that either, right? And so here's a happy medium for you to consider. Where one side of the street, no parking. We're gonna line the street for the first time ever, make it safer, sign it and mark it so that bicyclists can feel in that shared roadway. It's not the best for them, but it's something. It's moving towards getting people comfortable being in that street and getting people to know. It'll slow people down a bit. And then we eliminate just 50 of the spots, or 75, I think is the estimate. 150 would be both sides. So let's just call it 75 spots. So we are asking for some accommodations of our business, but not all and not none. So, is there a motion to accept the? Well, first of all, any more questions? Yes.
Just maybe getting out in front of a potential motion.
Yeah, it's good.
What we're looking for at the Transportation Council, this is a draft report. What we hope to accomplish today was concurrence with the recommendation that Mayor presented. If we have that in hand, I can ask Craig Manning to proceed with producing the plan level detailed drawings that DPW would need in order to appropriately place the pavement markings and the signing and the other
I
aspects.
was gonna ask you, how does that look on the road?
Are you
Is it
familiar
right in
with,
the middle?
yeah, you're familiar with Broad?
Yeah.
So it's that similar
That
symbol,
similar one.
but in this case, it would be more aligned. It wouldn't be in the center of each travel lane as a perfect parallel like
Okay.
it is on Broad.
Yeah.
But you would have that 8 feet of parking space delineated. So each one of those symbols would shift away from the parking space to attempt to replicate the assumed center of each travel direction.
Okay.
So you'd have a symbol over here, a symbol over here going in the opposite direction, and then the the parking lane, the 8-foot parking lane, would that be delineated?
The parking?
Yes.
That would be, I guess, a city preference.
Okay, so that'd be up to the city as to whether or not you actually want to physically stripe that parking stall consistently so everybody knows that's what it is. I know there's not a tremendous amount of pavement markings in the city. Most residential streets don't have any at all. So that would be a conversation we can have as the drawings are produced with DPW.
So,
yeah.
yeah. Well, if there's any more questions, that's great. If not, this is a recommendation. We would just be saying whether we concurred with the conclusion and the suggestion, and not formally adopting this, because then Creighton Manning go back and finish this study for your formal approval in the future.
Sounds good.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm in favor.
Everybody to see it.
Okay, great. Do we have a motion to concur with this preliminary study?
Do go for it.
Go.
Please, make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
All right.
Do we have a second? There we go. All in favor? Aye. Very good. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Gotta get your
Thank
big
you.
Now you're in.
That's right. Now she's an active participant. That's great.
And if they don't like it, they'll call you.
That's right. You made that motion. Thank you. Thank you. Next one is New York State DMV is requesting a signage placement change for consideration. Chief Smith? Oh, great. Hi, Mike. Come on. DMV, yeah.
I always wonder what the DMV looked like.
That's great. Yeah, well, at least they didn't say DWI instead of DPW. So go ahead.
Are you the guy that waits for the kids?
Yes, we did the car test and the CDL test.
Oh, yeah. On Catherine Street.
Yes,
Yeah,
Catherine Street.
okay.
So I'm Mike, I'm a senior motor vehicle license examiner, and we do the CDL test on Dix Avenue,
Right.
Eastfield, that's probably you guys know. And we do the car test on Catherine Street. So the first thing I just wanted to mention, it was kind of a kudo to Glens Falls. We're able to do the CDL test in that lot on East Field. And it's a big help because for us, it's very hard to get space for these trucks to do the maneuvers.
Yeah.
So it's a big help, so we appreciate that. Second thing, for the car test on Captain Street, we have the sign where it says road test stop starts here. And there's a business, I think it's a recycling company there.
Collins.
And so it's very hard for them when they come out to make that right turn on the Catherine. Sometimes we're even backing the cars up, and we're trying to, I'm proposing that if we could just move the sign back past the first tree.
Okay.
That'll be plenty of room for them to make their, and usually they're very nice, they'll even wait for us, they'll leave the curb, they're really good, so I thought I'd propose just so we can get out of the way.
I move we comply with the request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's
Thank
easy.
you.
Now you're,
Done.
thank you.
See that too easy?
Thank you.
welcome.
Can I just add to that?
Yes.
When Mike stopped by yesterday, I said I didn't think the board would have a problem, but it is a DPW sign. And obviously they would have to move it, but I want to make sure that there's no lines, power line, water lines, that kind of thing. So DPW would be the ones moving that sign back.
Great.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
I have a list here, if this helps the workers, these are the dates that we're not going to be testing there, so we wouldn't be in their way if they move the sign.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. We'll pass that along to Tom, our DPW superintendent, and I think that's fine.
Okay, great.
I don't think it affects us. It's happy to have him move it. We are trying to look at having to reopen the street that Cohen is at the dead end, so I don't know if you know it, but we're trying to get him to go straight out down that street, but it's a big lift. We got to remove trees. We allowed trees over the years to grow up at the railroad tracks, and so it became a dead end. If you come off of Warren headed towards Cohen, you hit trees. If you go down, if you turn onto the street where they're coming from, you keep going, you'll see the trees. It's really our roadway. We just stopped maintaining it, and so we are looking at making that change, but I have no idea when that change would be. This is a pretty simple request, and glad to help.
All right, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you. D is an available active transportation and complete streets training class on July 20th noon until 4 p.m. I just wanted you to know that this is being put on, that there's many Glens Falls. I've asked my community development director, my economic development director, my DPW superintendent, and one of the road, the chiefs, Mark Lambert. We're going to attend this. I wanted you to know you're welcome to attend it if anybody wanted to. But also, the course is available online if you're interested. It's about complete streets training and how to look at streets in a holistic manner, kind of like I just talked to Scarlett about. You know how we're to when you're doing development, when you're maybe developing a property or you're redoing a property, that are you looking at the complete street from the point of pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists instead of just motorists or just cyclists, right? It's a balanced approach. This is all mandatory. That the city of Glens Falls had a complete street policy through the ADA. We passed a resolution almost 15 or more years ago and then never implemented a complete street actual policy. We just said we would, and then we never did anything. What you're seeing here is a training that we're going to go to. We're going to start to look at this. Wanted you to be aware of it. And again, if you would like to attend this on July 20th, and you can let Chip know, and we'll sign you up for it. It's going to be at the EDC, right, Chip? It's at EDC. Is that right?
It is, yeah.
EDC offices on South. Is that right? We can get you the address. So I wanted you to know the training was there. You're certainly eligible to go to it. There's no cost to it. I believe they're going to have refreshments at it. They also offer the same training online, and you're welcome to, and if you wanted to attend it, and I don't believe there's any cost to it either, but if there was, we would certainly pick it up for you to get it, so, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then I have, I'd like to propose a resolution to formally appoint Chief Jared Smith as our permanent, move him from provisional police chief to permanent, as he has passed his chief's test.
Congratulations.
Yeah, great. Do we have a motion
I'll
to
move that.
approve that appointment?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Any old business?
Central Avenue.
Nope, nope, it's off the board.
Come on.
Yes. Oh, yes, hi, come on up.
I'm dressed a little casually. I was working and didn't want to miss this, so.
No, welcome.
Ran out of house.
Sure.
My name is Robin Granger. I live at 217 Sanford Street, so the east side of Sanford. And when we first purchased our property, there was a crosswalk that went at the end of our sidewalk over to the sidewalk that takes you to Windy Ridge. And when National Grid came and redid the gas lines, that street was repaved and we lost the connecting sidewalk and that crosswalk. At my vantage point, on top of the hill on 217 Sanford, there are easily 24 people that walk that route every single day. And if you've all been down Sanford Street ever, you know that between Quaker and Ridge, it's like a speedway. So I think that it's actually necessary to put that crosswalk back in for the safety of all the pedestrians in the area. We do have some Google Earth images that I pulled of the street when the crosswalk was there. There's the connecting portion of the sidewalk,
Yeah.
and then there's like a closer view of the crosswalk. So it actually
So
does
you're
go
talking about
directly
that
to-
crosswalk is no longer there?
It's no longer there and hasn't been for 5 years.
I have a motion to have DPW put the crosswalk back across East Sanford Street.
Also move.
You have a
I'll
second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sometimes it's that easy.
I like
Not
that.
often,
Not
but
often.
sometimes.
Thank you
Just
very much.
every once in a while. I do walk it, and it's connecting the two sidewalks. I don't know if you are familiar, but the sidewalk ends on the one side and it crosses and there's a sidewalk. And so it's a great, obviously needed.
That's the speed I like.
Yeah, very good. You know, more of those. Thank you. Bring any more of those that you want, those kinds of concerns, the easy ones. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. No old business? Chief Smith's report. Before, as Chief Smith walks up, is everybody okay? Just, you got in your packet the fire report, that nobody make a formal report. We're gonna go into executive session and talk about the fire chief and deputy chief positions. But are you okay with not having a verbal report?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Chief.
I don't have any old business or new business. I just wanted to mention that the 5 recruits are doing well in the academy. They're actually here today doing speed estimates for the radar certification.
Good.
So they're doing well and they'll be starting their field training very soon.
You have a graduation date?
I have one for Warren and I'll be back to you.
Okay.
Off the top of my head. I think it's August 14th, 13th, but I'll get back to you.
Great.
Executive session.
Any questions for Chief Smith?
I'll make a motion to approve the chief's report.
Thank you.
All in favor?
And I don't have an executive session anymore.
No?
Oh, you don't?
No, no. And then motion to approve the fire department report?
Make a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. A motion to go, if we go into executive session, we're not going to take any actions or anything. So could we have whoever makes the motion and be the same person to make a motion to come out of executive session? So, and second, is that okay?
I'll do that.
Mike makes a motion. Second?
I'll second.
Second. Gotta be faster.
And there you go. Thank you very much. So that's to adjourn. So both the motion to go into
Goes in,
executive.
out, and then adjourn.
Yeah, and then adjourn. So 3 motions,
thing?
same 2 people. All right? And we don't have any business that when we come out of it, we're just gonna come out of executive session. All right? Thank you.
Thank you again.
Great work.